morning, everybody. This is the Daily Digest with Jimi Disu. Can somebody please synchronize the time? My wristwatch here says 9:05. The console I'm using for my timing is 9:03. Mr. Yemi Kandi Johnson said his own is what now? You showed me the phone. I saw your wife's picture, but I didn't see what time it was. I'm impossible. What time is it?
It's 9:03.
9:03. And the one in front of me here says 9:02. That's the Wi-Fi. Oh, okay, that's the time. Okay. Faithful husband. Okay, now you all remember that through the exercise that, the last days of the election period, I had Mr. Kandi Johnson. He was kind enough to be here for about 2 days, was it? Yes, 2 days. I remember last Saturday I almost passed out, in all honesty, because after doing 2 hours with him, I did another 3 hours in Wazobia and came back to another 3 hours and had to wake up early in the morning to do another one. So by Sunday afternoon, I was walking dead, walking dead. But I promise you, this is analysis. So, Yemi, you can see how it all turned out now.
Good morning. Yes, it's very interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah, very, very interesting. I wonder what your views and thoughts are on the results.
Well, the results...
And the process that led to the results.
Well, it's difficult to say much more than what can be observed by everybody.
Yes.
We know what the result has been announced by INEC. That is their job. The logistical task of taking the vote, analyzing it, processing it, and publishing it is the job of INEC. What happens after that result has been published is a matter for a number of people. Legally, it may become a matter for the courts, because some people who are dissatisfied with the result are entitled to exercise the processes provided by the law for testing the quality of work produced by INEC. And that's what it is really. In the last few days, there's been a lot of commentary and snapshots of people's views of the election. This is a highly emotional period. I mean, I myself consider that it's something that one should be careful about speaking about. There are people who are personally very close to me who I think have taken offense even at my aloofness and my attempt to be clinical and in making observations about the election. So I recognize that it's a highly emotive state. It's someone said this is a mourning period for her. And I understand that's what people feel, and we should be sensitive to that. This was a major, not just a political event, but an emotional and personal event for many people, and their feelings should be taken into account. But the country must move on the best result that is available to it. So I think that while there are attempts to delegitimize the result, it is the result that has legal force right now. If it is displaced by legal activity hereafter, we should deal with that also. But what my abiding impression is that this is a time for sensitivity, for reflection, for calm, and for people to be strategic and to put Nigeria first.
Yeah, I agree with you almost completely. But I'd like to know what your personal thoughts are. You're speaking as a lawyer, which you always do. But when we are talking about other things, you don't speak like a lawyer.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Well, because some things are quite clear. There was something that went wrong with the beavers, and the results were not uploaded. And those two things are enough to give one, to set one thinking either which way. Because look, the validity, well, don't let me use that word validity, because I'll go into the realm of law, and I'm not an ordinary lawyer. This is the sun here. But the premise in which a lot of people took place, and one of the major roles to show credibility, was that the beavers and the uploading whatever should do optimally. Optimally. Thank you very much. God bless you. And it didn't appear to have happened. That is very clear. So, okay, when you saw that happened, were you in any way alarmed or upset? That what is this? Or
you can act on snapshots and anecdotes.
Yes.
There are 176,000 polling units in the country. I do not think any one of us, except if you're the command and control of any one of the political parties can tell me what happened in up to 10,000 of them. So this is a small percentage. This is what the process of the law is for, to set out before an impartial tribunal what you say happened, and to satisfy them that what has happened is not substantially in compliance with electoral law. That is the legal test. Mm-hmm. The legal test recognizes that there will be imperfections and there will be irregularity. But an election can only be set aside if it was not substantially in compliance with the Electoral Act. Why? Because the purpose of the Electoral Act and of elections is to determine across the board the will of the people. And the most perfect way to do it is by counting votes. And if in some places the counting of those votes was impaired, the question still has to be asked, did this affect the outcome of the election? Now, I listened to an interview a few days ago where the same question about BVAS. I don't know whether it worked, but a spokesman, I think, for the winning party had said, without contradiction, when he was interviewed by a senior CNN reporter, that two things should be separated. That the BVAS worked 88% accuracy. That is what accredits and puts people on the right to vote. What people are talking about is the IREV, which was the portal for displaying the results. Mm-hmm. Now, in reality, this is a secondary device because the paper from every polling unit is the primary information about what happened. It's signed by the party agents, and every party which has an agent at a polling unit must have a copy of that document, and so they will compile it. And if there are alterations, if there are changes, if there's inaccuracies, that is part of the case they must build. So there must be a powerful team of lawyers working right now on either side, and we have many powerful lawyers in Nigeria who I know may well be involved, and that the IREV didn't function properly. But the IREV is a secondary source of information which people expect to see the results live. And this spokesman compared this to Obamacare. People said Obamacare in America had failed because within 24 hours of the portal going online, it crashed because of an inundation of data and people trying to access any site can crash when a multiple number of people try to access it. So that doesn't distort the result. It means you didn't get it when you were supposed to get it. But in reality, the people who have the primary grievance, the political parties, must each have a representative at the polling unit. Each representative must have photographed or by whatever means sent to the control center for local government, for state, for national, of their political party. And so the control room of every political party, except if they weren't serious about the election, should have a comprehensive documentation of regularity and irregularity at this stage. And that's what the court will examine.
Okay, well, so now that you have two different parties going to court.
Yes.
First question that I said I was going to ask you, and I don't know if somebody called you to say, come on, this is why they go do for Jimi Disu. This is what I was going to ask you is, do you think it's better off for them to go as two individual parties or for them to come together? Because now what you have is each one is claiming that I won.
Yes.
So do you think it's better for them to go together, to join the case, get together and join up and have one presentation in court as opposed to the two?
Well, in an ordinary civil matter, that might have been if they have a common cause of action. But they cannot have a common cause of action because each person's cause of action is fundamentally different to the others. Because PDP says it won, LP says it won, Kwankoso says he won. And what they're saying, from I gather, is that they observed irregularities and maybe voter suppression, maybe intimidation. I'm not so sure what is the factual basis of their claim. But these are things that need to be examined impartially. It's very easy to create hysteria and confusion by showing snapshots. I found that CNN interview particularly interesting because of the repudiation of assumptions with facts. And it's very easy in the public space to make assumptions and then to ride on them. And when you ask people, can you prove that? They'll say it's obvious. There's nothing, I'm a lawyer. Nothing is obvious unless I can prove it.
I know, that's why sometimes talking to you can be frustrating. If I had a gun here, I'd open fire and just go. Now, that's a joke. Please don't start tweeting that. JD wants to fire.
Candy Johnson to
shot. Imagine the headlines tomorrow in the Punch. Jimi Disu fires Candy Johnson, takes 2 shots to the head.
Life and death is in the hands of
Oh my God. Okay, so by the way, are you likely to be involved in any of the party's cases?
It's highly unlikely.
Highly unlikely.
Yes.
Would you?
I'm not involved in any political party or any movement.
I don't think it's about that. I think it would be a bit about competence. I mean,
well, people. I think people generally like lawyers that they know well, that they talk to, can share confidences with. Most of my
why
clients,
would you be telling on them if they shared confidence with you?
No, I don't know. But then you have to have an understanding of the person. Someone who knows me would know that it's the nature of my practice and my ethics to keep confidences. But you don't know. You have to have familiarity with an individual to have to come to them for advice. And it is not obvious to me that any of the gladiators.
But I'll let you run a 1-minute commercial. Are you available to any of the parties if they so desire?
No, I'm not.
That's what you should have said in the first place now. I had to box you to a corner to get that. Which is interesting. So why wouldn't you handle political case?
I have done this before. It's like any other case. You can handle it purely from a legal perspective. I think that you will find that there are certain cases which I like to avoid, but sometimes you can't avoid them because law and evidence takes a back space to people's emotion. Administration of estates, where a will is concerned, divorce proceedings.
You don't do that.
And political proceedings. I have done them before, but I find that those are people approach them less clinically, and people find themselves so emotionally consumed that they often won't take advice.
The advice and the verdict.
They don't want to be confronted with the reality. They want somebody who is a cheerleader rather than somebody who is an impartial advisor.
It goes also with the terrain of part of my own profession, because I've been PR consultant to quite a number of people. Indeed, at a young age, I headed the PR listing of a multinational, and I left after 2 years. Yes, I just walked out of the job. It's difficult in a country like ours to be a thoroughbred professional.
Yes.
You'd be seen as arrogant.
Yes.
You'd be seen. I've heard, for example, that some clients will tell you, I just want your presence in the court. I've seen the job. Let it just be said that it's Yemi Kanti Johnson that was my lawyer. That's all I'm asking of you. Tell me your price and I give you the money.
Well, I wouldn't be available.
Exactly. You'd be saying, you know. I can imagine at this political whatever, they say, no, this one's is too much. You won't know.
Oh, I've been told that.
You've been told that. I'm not surprised.
In the course of my career, you'll be too aloof. You're going to speak English.
Yes, yes.
We need somebody who's rough.
But that shows I'm a bit worried, though, like most people are, about if you would get justice from the courts in Nigeria. I mean, okay, so that's a general sweep, yes. But I think there are enough examples to get you worried. And so people, what you find out there now is if you listen, you'll still be sleeping though, you're a big man. If you listen to radio as early as 4 o'clock and you hear people calling, most of them don't have faith in the judiciary for whatever reasons. But like you said, was it you that told me, I can't remember, some lawyer told me, or was it Shuposh? I can't remember, but something to the fact that, look, listen, cases are judged, number one, based on what is presented before the court. The judge is not going to go pick some information from somewhere. In a case like this, what level of confidence would you say you have that justice will be done?
Let me say, first of all, that I have confidence in the courts.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
But you have no choice. That's what
yes.
I mean.
I know that there are egregious examples of decisions which have confounded the public, confounded the legal community, and have, and there are many cases that have brought the reputation and the credibility of the courts into disrepute. This is a fact. But I believe that any judge, regardless of their prejudices, regardless of their level of competence, if a powerful and compelling case is presented, will find it difficult to dislodge it. So the task and the point you made about evidence and preparation, and when people have asked me about this in the last few days, I've said, well, look, if you have a complaint, I hope you have a team of lawyers preparing it effectively, because you must consider every aspect. You must consider the potential for technical objections. You must consider the time limits. You must consider the evidential burden that you must meet. You must consider the law. It's not a thing for small boys. You don't just collect money and go and sit down. Well, some people will do so. Some candidates have such a weak case that they're basically donating money to lawyers. But the preparation of a case is the task of the lawyer, and you choose a lawyer at your peril. Some lawyers will say they're influential with courts. A certain type of lawyer says that. Some lawyers say that I have the skill and I have the experience to prepare a comprehensive and compelling case. And that must be presented even if you know the judge is against you. Your task when there's a potential for prejudice on part of the judge is to overcome it. It's not to avoid it. It's to tie his hands with the facts and with the law. You leave him no way out. That is the challenge. This is a high skills challenge. And it's very easy to talk about what is to be proved in a bear parlor. The work of a lawyer is not necessarily flair or drama. It's about preparation. It's about preparation, collection of evidence, analysis, organization, presentation. This is the task of a lawyer. But very often, people forget what the job is, and then they blame the judiciary for the collapse of their own professional effort.
I know you'll dodge this bullet, but I got to fire the shot anyway. About how much do you think lawyers will be charging for this case? Senior advocates, about how much? Just a rough idea. You want to answer?
I couldn't give you a rough idea of it, because the skill and experience and even the reputation and stature of a lawyer has an impact. So it is something that is inherently unpredictable, and since it's effectively a transaction. If a lawyer quotes a fee, the client has to take a view as to what is the capacity that the lawyer is bringing, and determine whether it's within his range or whether it's something that he's able to pay.
With political cases, the limits are off. Whatever you ask, you will get if they want you.
Well, I've heard that anecdotally myself.
You've heard that? Okay, so I've heard that too.
But these are just anecdotes.
As I'm sitting down here, I'm imagining, I'm sure there's one particular person I'll see on either side of the divide. On which side is what I don't know. And that man's going to be having a jolly Christmas.
Well, there's a limit to what you can do with money.
You didn't ask me where.
You have to know what to do with it.
You didn't ask me where he's going to have a Christmas.
No, I didn't. And I have no idea whether...
I'll keep that till after the case.
Is it somewhere in the northern part of Nigeria?
Nah.
Because Jos, the Plateau, Obudu Cattle Ranch, those are very nice places, I've heard.
Come back home.
Okay.
It's the daily digest. I'm playing games with Yevi. I just Yevi, Candy Johnson, S.A.N. Is talking, putting in a bit of humor, to be honest, because Yemi, whether we like it or not, a lot of people are down at this point in time.
Yes, I find that.
Morale is very, very low.
Yes.
Very, very
we have
low.
To be sensitive to that, and we have to be. I myself may not have been so sensitive about it, because I tend to just deal with things clinically and matter of factly and practically.
It's probably a way to survive this country. Given experience, if I've not had any experience, I remember what happened during the June 12 crisis. As soon as we finished on Sunday, I never got any medium, whether TV or whatever.
Give yourself a break.
Gave myself a break till I came into the studio on Tuesday, and I got the results. Fair enough, let's go.
Yeah.
All right, 9:22 by this one, 9:25 by mine, 9:20.
9:22.
No, I want to see it on your phone. 9:20 what?
9:22.
I can see your wife's face. I mean, she keeps popping up. 9:22. We'll take a break soon. Well, it just shows that you're a very good husband.
You've never seen my wife before. You have no idea whose picture
Of course, I know her so well. so well. It's like we'll soon take a break, and then when we come back, we'll take your calls, and then continue with the discussion. The same rules will apply. Okay, let's get a bit less emotional about these things now. Now that half of the deed has been done, let's try and see if we can try and rewrite this without so much collateral damage. The Daily Digest with Jimi Disu will take a short break, and then we'll be back.
that dial. Daily Digest returns in a moment. This is The Voice Note on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
We keep you informed all day long with the best radio programming. From the morning crossfire with Sheriff to What's Up Lagos. And at noon, it's the sunny side with Joyce. Let's talk hard facts with Sandra
I will
Ezekwesili.
present a story the way that it was presented.
Femi and the gang bring the game on with day-by-day accounts of magnificent moments in the world of football. And finally, the chat station, all for your listening pleasure. Your number one station for talk, 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
We talk.
Oregon State Police Command has paraded 21 suspected IPOB members accused of burning 3 police stations and killing 3 officers.
You talk.
The poor man's team are they showing face for crime fighter. When rich man steal money, they no go see face for crime fighter.
But what the government have made us to understand is that whatever news that come from the public that is against the government is fake.
Really talk.
Why are they turning their guns, their boots against the defenseless and harmless civilian populace? What is their problem?
Nigeria in Nigeria. Let's talk.
That money out. But if I told you to come and do a health check and you should put down 20,000 naira, you probably would say it's very, very expensive.
That's too much now.
Why should I go and dash one doctor? And because people are not paying attention, people are therefore getting sicker and sicker.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
There is a huge difference between the relative experience of salary earners and those of business owners and entrepreneurs. Someone who has never had cause to set up a business of his, who has never had cause to source for funds, turn it around, pay salaries, pay back the loan, and still make profit cannot be expected to be hands-on when saddled with an economy the size of Lagos. Experience that hasn't curbed Lagos's traffic in 24 years of their reign. Experience that hasn't addressed Lagos's perennial flood. Experience that currently leaves us with over 2 million out-of-school children. The duo of Jando and Funke have been investing in Lagos's economy for about 2 decades, running their personal businesses, employing peoples with track records of success. Lagos needs a breath of fresh air. Vote Dr. Abdulaziz Olajide Adediran Jando as Governor of Lagos State. PDP! Power to the people!
Thanks for calling Bastion
Since
HMO.
I signed up with Bastion HMO, I don't worry about hospital bills. I get access to top quality healthcare and still save enough for other things. They even help me pre-book my doctor's appointments. Bastion HMO also gives me access to over 1,700 hospitals and clinics with the freedom to switch whenever. I feel so in control of my finances and health.
Call 0800 Bastion or visit www.bastionhmo.com to purchase a plan that suits your needs. Bastion Health, the HMO that puts you in control.
Lagos where we dey so na so complain people dey complain every day. Some people na heavy traffic, some na agberu palava, some market women and women nko na so lock of their market. My people, another opportunity don enter with domot na to vote Gbadebo Rose Vival of Labour Party to become with governor for inside Obodo Lagos. Now be the solution to all our problem. If you vote Gbadebo, the trade wey they don dey do for 23 years, Gbadebo go complete am inside 4 years. Peri job go boku. For we youth, Agberu go disappear on top of we road. No more suffer for market men and women. Your task go work for you. Gbadebo go grow business. Horse driver go enjoy. For we traditional ruler them, Rose Vival go respect una advice. All the civil servants go enjoy. Increment go dey on top of una salary. With Boku promotion, suffer don't do for inside Obodo Lagos. Make sure say you vote Gbadebo Rose Vival. Labour Party na for Papa, Mama and Pikin.
Are you a sub-agent or an affiliate? Register with onboard.com. We've got competitive fares, airline commission, plus 24/7 support. Send an email to enquiries@onboard.com. That's onburt.com. Call 0916-001-0333 and WhatsApp us on 0908-329-4000. Onboard.com. Discover a new way to travel.
NS
Oga, wetin happen? I don send a go market. I be dey owe you money.
Oga Pharmacy, no be your boy I dey call jare. I dey ask for NS liver salt, ogbonge medicine wey dey comot any yamayama discomfort for person belle, whether na heartburn, constipation or even indigestion o. NS liver salt get lemon, orange and other correct flavors. With NS liver salt, belle go dey balance. Oya Oga Pharmacy, sama me one make I go enjoy.
NS liver salt, the ogbonge medicine wey dey make your belle kulele. Rush enter any pharmacy, go buy your own now.
There is a huge difference between the relative experience of salary earners and those of business owners and entrepreneurs. Someone who has never had cause to set up a business of his, who has never had cause to source for funds, turn it around, pay salaries, pay back the loan, and still make profit cannot be expected to be hands-on when saddled with an economy the size of Lagos. Experience that hasn't curbed Lagos's traffic in 24 years of their reign. Experience that hasn't addressed Lagos's perennial flood. Experience that currently leaves us with over 2 million out-of-school children. The duo of Jando and Funke have been investing in Lagos's economy for about 2 decades, running their personal businesses, employing peoples with track records of success. Lagos needs a breath of fresh air. Vote Dr. Abdulaziz Olajide Adediran Jando as Governor of Lagos State. PDP! Power to the people!
99.3 Nigeria Info.
Your number one station for talk. Let's talk.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
This is Daily Digest with Jimi Disu.
You're welcome back to the Daily Digest. 9:33 on my time, 9:30 on the console. Yeah, I'll spare you. I don't. My eyes can't pick it. You have to show me your phone, but I know I've seen what I want to see. Okay, so I'll take one or two calls. 0700 993 993 993 and 014657190. I'm going to stick to the 1 minute rule so we don't waste too much time. So if I were you, I just say my name and then go straight to the point. Yeah, I mean, you know the way it goes. Good morning to the man in the studio. Good morning. In so doing, you wasted a lot of time.
Microphone sickness.
Yes, just go straight. Give us a name and go straight to the point. Hello, good morning. Morning. Now, morning. Hello.
Uncle Jimmy, good morning, sir.
Morning, Chris. How are you? Straight to the point.
Hello, morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
My Attorney General to be. Please don't involve yourself in this case.
Why?
You know, Nigerian factor will always come to play. I don't want you to be involved, please, my brother. Just keep your neutral.
No, you can't. Do you agree with him?
That I shouldn't be involved
in the politics?
Well, I hope that I'm not more involved than any ordinary Nigerian.
You see, you can't beat this man, no. Okay, Chris, what did you want to say? Oh, it's gone. Okay. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, my name is Dari. I'm calling from Ikorodu.
Yes, go on.
I want to send my regards to Yemi Kangide Johnson.
Thank you.
I have known him since 1983 through the sister.
You know him?
Auntie Linda. We worked in
we have to tread carefully here because I don't want to get my
It's nice to hear your voice again.
Thank
you very much, my
thank
sister.
you. So you can, if you don't know the next name he might call, could get you to trouble.
I love
all right. We note this. What we want to do is to contribute to the program.
Yeah,
fine. Hello, good morning. Please, when you call, I've always said that when you call, always go straight to the issue at hand. Okay, and that was a close one, though.
Well, you mentioned my sister's name, which is...
Oh, it was your sister's name? I didn't know. I mean, I had to be careful. I thought I was protecting you.
The innocent need no protection.
They need no protection. Okay, let's pick this call. Yes, morning.
Yeah, this is Ambassador Musba.
Yes, Ambassador.
Sir, I want you to just ask into the piece I call the sign. is it necessary to organize any peace accord for politicians? That is one. My second, now, these people now, because I'm yet to see election that have not been contested since the year was born. I'm yet to see that. Now, if you are to advise these politicians, now they are good to court, and their follower, you just think that these followers can make something to spoil the case. Because when this court is in case, and what they say is that when the followers are not silent, is there any danger in that? So that might
okay. I think what it means actually is that do we always have to go to court? And then I think the other comment had to do with do the politicians themselves have to go with loads and loads of people to the court and so on and so forth, maybe in a way trying to intimidate the judiciary. I don't think so. I don't think that.
Well, that's the purpose of numbers.
Do you need numbers when you go to the court?
You don't, but you need it for to disrupt and to intimidate.
Oh, really?
It doesn't. It's not supposed to be effective, because if I was a judge in the case, I would exclude any rowdy or disproportionate number of people, because there must be order in the court, and the order in the court depends on the judge.
By the way, I need to clarify something. What court are they going to now?
There's a presidential election tribunal, which is generally constituted by Court of Appeal justices, and an appeal, if the law hasn't been changed, will lie from that to the Supreme Court.
I'm sure this will end in the Supreme Court. There's no doubt about that.
Sure. I mean, because people don't accept results. But back to the point your caller made. You know, I listen to foreign press, especially the Western press, talking about the disputed Nigerian election. But when they're talking about the election of 2004 in America, election of 2016, election 2020, which are hotly disputed even till today, they don't use the word disputed.
Disputed.
Yeah, so disputed is a pejorative to delegitimize in concept the idea of democratic process in Africa, and I would reject it. But the fact is that what you do after you lose an election, part of dealing with the grief, the shock, and the horror, is to decide what is best for the country. And the experiences internationally, in 1960, President Richard Nixon lost to Kennedy by less than 100,000 votes. And for days there was question whether they would contest it, because they said there was rigging in Chicago, that people voted in Ohio, etc. And he decided that the interest of the Republic was better served by not contesting. And indeed, this is what had... he subsequently became president. Al Gore also considered the same question.
Yes.
He first conceded, thinking it's better to... you can be a winner or a loser, but there's nothing worse than being a sore loser, and you're talking about your own. But he decided to go... This was his last chance. He decided to contest. And at some stage, he said that's the situation. In Nigeria, President Goodluck Jonathan, an incumbent president with all the forces and authority of the state at his disposal, conceded that the will of the people had rejected him. Now, whatever you say about President Goodluck Jonathan, that singular act is going to be a historic testament to his statesmanship.
Because I was his greatest critic, but with that singular move, he became a hero in my eyes. Indeed, I was when he lost initially, I must confess that I thought maybe he just became horny and ran away. But when I did some real deep thinking, I shuddered to imagine what could have happened. I mean, at the very least, he was very close to the militants.
Yes.
At the very least, and they could have disrupted
if
lot of
you're
things.
grown up. I think I heard someone say that if you're not willing to contemplate that you may lose, if you don't have the humility to accept that you may lose, you may not have the moral authority to even contest. Grown-ups have to decide that sometimes I may not get the decision, but it's in the benefit of and the peace and tranquility. People say that you should fight if your rights are contravened. This is true, but it is a weighty consideration for a statesman to determine whether the degree of his confidence in his grievance is so powerful that the interest of the state requires him to dispute certain things.
But Peter Obi says, and I quote, that if you want to be called excellency, you have to go through an excellent process, and he thinks it wasn't excellent, so he's not going to. He doesn't think this man deserves a.
It's a lovely soundbite, and his opinion is valid.
Is valid.
So, what I would urge a candidate like that to do, I assume that he has exercised the judgment of a statesman, and he has decided, on the advice of lawyers, that there is a significant difficulty with the election, and that the result does not represent the will of the people.
Let me play a funny game with you if you come along with me. Remember that I'm not a lawyer, so you can stop me in my tracks if I'm getting off track. What kind of... So, on his side, he obviously, what would he be wanting? That the whole election should be overturned? Or that there should be re-election in certain areas? I need to get that clear distinction in my mind to know what exactly would he be asking for.
Well, this is where a court case brings to test proper collection of evidence, analysis, and presentation. One of the tasks that his lawyers will have to decide is that on the facts we have, what is the relief that is available in law? So if you say, for example, that there was no election in let's say 1,000 constituencies, and the maximum voting register in those constituencies is 1 million people. I don't think it's, but let's say,
hypothetically, yes.
Then you have to decide whether, if those elections were rerun, you have the chance of winning 100% of those votes, and that when you win those votes, it will change the numerical outcome of your vote in the contest.
Yeah.
And don't forget that there's a double test. Again, elections is about strategy and calculation. It's not just enough to win the majority of votes. You must win 2/3 of the votes. 25% of the votes in 2/3 of the states. This is a mechanism to ensure the diversity of the electoral pool from which a candidate is elected. So everybody has a stake. So you say to yourself, can I, with the challenge I'm making, prove not only that I got the majority of votes cast in the election, but that I got 25% of the votes in 2/3 of the states? This is it. This is a test. If the case you are making will establish that, then it's worthwhile. If the case you are making will not establish that, then going to court to look for technical points is just a loser's game.
Okay, now there's this controversy. I'm not a lawyer, so my hands are up. As soon as that argument started,
you keep pleading innocent of being a lawyer.
No, I say no, so that from the outset, if you want to beat me, you'll be. I don't want you to pummel me. This argument about the law talking about 25 states plus the capital territory, or 25 states including the capital territory. Have you studied that part of it? Do you have an idea?
It's become contentious now because some people are looking for hooks on which to hang their grievance. That provision has historically been contentious. In the Awolowo and Shagari case in 1979, the question of what was
2/3.
This was the answer. What is 2/3 of 19 states? Is it 13 states or 2/3 of the states? If you look at that judgment, the majority decided that they would fractionalize the states. But then, first of all, the philosophy of that decision, as with any constitutional decision, is that you must decide what is important and what is the intention of the provision. My simple view is that the intention of that provision, which in our current constitution adds the FCT as one of the
as a state,
is not to give FCT a magic or golden ticket. You must win FCT or you have lost the election. It means that the FCT is one of the constituent units from which you have a pool that you must find 25% of the votes. And if you look at the reasoning of the court in Awolowo and Shagari, they decided that the most important thing, first of all, was to win the majority of votes. Secondly, it was to determine this spread. The spread is a matter of intention. Has it been achieved? And they held 12 2/3 because they fractionalized the votes in Kano and decided that they were dealing with votes and they could find the fraction. But if you look at the philosophy that applied there, especially the decision of Justice Obaseki, it's that substantial compliance with electoral law is the guiding principle for intervention in elections under the law. So you will bend over backwards not to nullify an election, but to validate it. This is a simple fact. So when you go before the court, you have to bring a bombshell. You cannot go to court and say, I've lost the majority of the votes, but I want you to find an ultra-technical route by which I can install myself as president. Because the purpose of elections is to test the will of the majority. So this is your task. Prove that the ground upon which I have not been validly elected is that the majority supported me and they didn't support my opponent. This is a very high bar to reach.
Wow. So this case will take about how long? Because all the cases, up to the Supreme Court should come before May 29.
Yes, there are time limits in the electoral law. I can't tell you what they are. 21 days to file the petition, 30 days to have the decision. So the idea is that you should be able to resolve these matters. This is why it's a massive task. Each time people talk to me about it's a huge legal task. I use the example in Florida in 2008. Florida was the controversial state in America where the 2004 election was decided. And so there was a high degree of anticipation that in 2008, elections there would be controversial. The Democratic Party, ahead of elections, sent 500 lawyers to Florida alone because they have to compile, they have to process, they have to arrange presentation, they have to work in concert. There must be a team set on ground. You can't, after the election has gone and you're floundering, start saying, please give me evidence, let me try. This is where the mistakes are made. The mistakes are made in a rush preparation rather than in anticipation. And I think anybody who's going to win the legal contest must have been preparing for this contest months before the election took place.
So if you're not doing that, then you're back about 2, 3, 4 notches down the line.
And then what you're going to do is you're going to try and excite the public. You're going to try and create emotional and political agitation, like has been done irresponsibly by some senior members of our political community who don't care the consequences to the people whose lives they will put at risk. So you have to this is what's going to happen. But sometimes you only have a political movement. You have to let it down slowly. So you have to give people a sense of grievance is a cause for cohesion. And over time, it's also a mechanism for dealing with conflict.
Are you concerned about the elections of March 11 especially, let me just tack down to the ethnicity that is coming up? I find it very unfortunate, and I repeat what I said at 7:30. If anybody sends me anything anything ethnic, that what's the legal word you use for it? This word just went out of my head now.
Xenophobic?
Well, that's one, but that one is too much touristy. There's an easier one. Hate speech.
Hate speech, yes.
Anything that was hate speech, I'm going to keep it aside. Yes. Because if this country goes on in flagration, we'll make sure some people pay for it.
Yes.
I like people to keep the peace. Yes. Look at what has happened to Rhodes Viver now, for example. All of a sudden, they suddenly remember that his mother is Igbo. So what? So what? When are we going to grow up to a point? Look, today, the Prime Minister of the UK is an Indian, full-blooded, Hindu.
Well, he's British.
Well, is of Indian origin. Yes. Yeah. The same thing with the front runner in Scotland is also of Indian heritage. I mean, so we need to. You can't have people coming in, bringing money into your area. You sell land to them, houses, blah blah, and over time, these things really and truly shouldn't matter. I think
a state like Lagos has always been open, accommodating,
and cosmopolitan.
And cosmopolitan. It's a mistake to heighten the things that divide us and not to emphasize the things that unite us. But this is a responsibility of all candidates.
Yeah.
You cannot run on religion or ethnicity and not expect people to point their fingers at you. So it's a responsibility. Everybody has to make an effort to be all things to all men. You cannot build your campaign on hatred and expect to be loved. So it's a responsibility for everybody. You're perfectly right in your analysis that in a state like Lagos, you should be able to take people on the quality that they bring to the ticket,
exactly,
their capacity for governance,
exactly,
what you know about them. Someone says that there are two reasons why we don't trust people. One, because we don't know them, and two, because we know them.
And what I need to again remind the APC supporters that their principal is best known for being accommodating to all.
Yes.
That's one of the attributes of Bola Tinubu, whatever you might think of him.
But that's
He's
big,
very
that's
accommodating.
That's big praise coming from you.
Yeah, no, but I'm objective.
Yes.
No, hey, listen. I have a very objective mind. But I didn't go to Corona and come out. If you went to Corona, which I don't know if you did.
No, I didn't go to this elite school.
I don't want them to lead on you. Of course.
I have a basic.
I wanted to tease you.
I have a basic education.
You fell right bang into it.
I didn't even go to King's College.
Get out of here. You know, I grew up in an environment of. Honestly, I don't see during the Civil War.
Yes.
We had somebody in our house for 4 years. We told him not to go anywhere.
Yes.
That's how we grew up. My father said, no, stay, don't worry. And he was there for 4 years.
You know, I started my legal practice in northern Nigeria. My father, the thrust of his legal practice was in eastern Nigeria.
You know?
So,
and then if you grew up in Yaba, there's no way you won't be cosmopolitan. When I remember, like of Widijalo from Meduguri, I was practically, I grew up in his hands.
I know that you Widijalo.
Widijalo from Meduguri is in Yaba. It's here. I'm afraid
wouldn't be now.
Yes.
But I remember meeting him, completely fluent Yoruba speaker.
Yes, and we grew up. I don't know. Yes. I like to appeal to everybody, please.
Actually.
Sorry?
I knew him in Kano. As a client of my.
I knew him. He has a house on my street in Yaba. We'd like to use this opportunity to appeal to everybody. Let's be accommodating. Don't let one election divide us down the line. And the things that the way these things are going, I don't like them because it will have an aftermath. If he's not nipped in the bud.
Yes.
I've pleaded with the governor to please. He gave a very good statement, and which is quite matured and nice of him.
You need grown-ups in the room, and a lot of these political disputes, the grown-ups leave the room and the children.
But you'll be surprised what some grown-ups are doing.
Well, that's what I say. Because
a grown-up is 60 plus, ain't it?
The point I make is that when you put your grown-upness aside, you're no longer
a grown-up. Yes. I like the governor to come out. I'd like to take him on next week, on that issue alone, and give him, enough time to quell people's nerves.
My impression is
he will be the greatest beneficiary of that.
My impression is that a person who has governed a state like this for 4 years would know the strength of its diversity and will have the words to stabilize people's
and
emotions.
cool everybody down. Yes,
and that is his responsibility.
That's it. So, I said that
even for a governor, he must unite.
He must unite, and he must be seen.
Yes,
to be there's one thing for it to.
And provocations don't matter. Whatever people say against him is not important. What is important is that he conducts himself. There's a great power in the dignity of your behavior.
Yeah,
and I think that this is what I would expect from Governor Sanwo-Olu.
Well, he started that on a good foot with the statement, to be honest, but. Most of these perpetrators, I think they'd rather just hear his voice on radio to tell them that to cool down. And like I said,
radio is a highly accessible medium. And I think a lot of people listen to the radio.
You should tell me, I know.
Yes.
And I've told him that any day he wants between 9 and 10, we'll be more than glad. And I'm sure that if there's a need for him to quickly pick a time, we'll be glad to do that here. Or maybe he should just have a press conference. But people need to hear his voice.
I think so.
They need to hear his voice.
Yes. Crisis is a time for statesmen, for wisdom, for calm reflection. It distresses me when I see people who apparently have age, experience, and judgment throwing it away in a highly emotional way. And this is happening a lot right now. You need to be very calm, especially when there's crisis. You need to be calm and reflective. You need to take your time. And you need to think about things and choose your words with great care. This is a highly flammable situation. It calls for maturity and judgment. Those who don't have judgment and maturity, leave them on the streets. And this includes people who would otherwise be called grown-ups, but who are not behaving like that.
I got to go. Thank you very, very much. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
My pleasure.
Are we running the same thing for March 11?
I'd be delighted.
Okay, let's see how it goes. Okay, that's all we have for today. Tomorrow we're stepping down, okay? I'm bringing an actress. She's an actress, she's a producer, and she's a writer. She just gave me one of her novels yesterday, Lilian Ama Oluko. That's our friend, our good friend, Yelia Luko's
daughter?
No, not his daughter. Okay. He's what do we call this? If somebody is married to your niece. No, what's wrong with you guys? His brother's wife.
Oh, his wife.
His brother's wife.
It's in
Yawuni. His brother's wife. So she'll be. We are stepping down tomorrow. We'll talk a bit about arts. I try to let's have a balance so we can bring things down. Yes. I'm also tired of talking politics. Yes. Maybe I should look at doing Dear Bumi in next quarter, 5 days a week. That'd be nice. That would be nice. Okay, so I'll see you all tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Yemi Candy Johnson, thank you very much. Let me leave you to go and earn your millions.
Thank you so much.
But I'm be on standby. You never know who will call. Okay, that's why we'll end it. I'll see you tomorrow at 9. Bye.
Of entertaining conversations.
I personally think Liverpool of last season that lost the title were better. That's my personal opinion.
Somebody who has the virus refused to isolate. That's even attempted murder, in my opinion, because you know how dangerous this virus is and you refuse to do the right thing. It should be a crime.
99.3.
A young man like me looking for what I'll fed myself and police are collecting my money. It's evil. What later will say Yahoo. I'm not doing Yahoo. I have a laundry shop.
Your number one station for talk. 99.3 Nigeria Info.
More talk.